Yep. So I've confirmed that it is 6 o'clock, and so we're going to go forward with calling this called meeting of the Loganville Development Authority into session. First of all, I got it down. First of all, let me confirm that all 5 of our current members are here, so we'll dispense with the roll call. But we will now take up the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Dempsey, second by Lee. Any discussion or changes or questions on the agenda? All right, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, our first item is to approve the IGA with Loganville DDA, transferring funds and pass-through GCF loan responsibility. Paul, you want to give us a high-level summary of what this does?
Sure, absolutely. So based upon a lot of discussions that you've had here at the City of Loganville, both with your LDA and your soon-to-be recomposed DDA, as you sit here right now, the LDA has some funds sitting in a bank account, and then they have responsibility for this GCF loan stemming from the Merritt Properties transaction that was done a few years back, I believe in 2019. On the pass-through loan, y'all don't have any financial obligation for it. It is a pass-through. GCF's already assigned the documents, but they still need what they call a local authority to control it. So if there ever was any problem with that loan, we've already spoken to GCF. They don't have a problem with this transfer occurring. So essentially what this IGA does is it does 2 things. It takes the money that's in y'all's pot, and it, by agreement, moves it to the DDA for them to continue to use it for their purposes. And then the second thing that it does is it transfers the responsibility of the GCF loan pass-through to the DDA, subject to GCF's approval. We've already started that process and asked for their approval. They've indicated they're going to give it. It's a pretty standard process. Also, I think one question has been asked is, if the LDA were to dissolve, the money that's sitting in your coffers would go back to the city. So this is by agreement, y'all moving it to the DDA for downtown development revitalization purposes, versus if the LDA were to ever be dissolved, the money would go back to the city general fund. I'd be happy to answer any other questions you may have. And of course, the lovely Miss Andrea Gray is here too to answer questions as well.
Yeah, I think probably a number of you have not met Andrea. She's been the LDA's attorney for quite a number of years.
Yep, it's been
Since 2015. And we'll talk about her a little bit more in just a second. But any other questions on the IGA? Okay. Then I'll request a motion to approve the IGA.
Having looked this over quite extensively over the last couple of days, Mr. Chairman, I would like to move that we adopt this IGA into being.
Okay. We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Then we're moving on to the approval of the final invoice for Ms. Gray, Attorney Gray. She's been a great service, I know to me, since I've served on the authority for the last 4 years. She's given a lot of good advice and helped me work through some things. A lot of what she's done for us is filing our annual registration with the Department of Community Affairs and keeping that up to date for us. So that's been a great help as well. You have an invoice in your packet covering the period from November 5th, 2020 through tonight. That amount is $784. Any questions or things you'd like to ask Ms. Gray about?
I have one question. This goes through May 8th. Today's the 13th. So Andrea will need to submit time for tonight.
No. I came tonight because I wanted to see all of you and thank you
Okay.
for allowing me to represent you all these years. There will not be another invoice. This is the final.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
Other questions? All right, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the invoice.
Motion?
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Let's try and get that check to her tonight, if we could. Thank you. The next item is approval of the March 7th, 2024 LDA meeting minutes. I think those were sent to you earlier, or last week, actually, and there were a couple of revisions that needed to be made, and you have had the final version of that since this afternoon. Any questions or comments on the minutes from the March 7th, 2024 meeting? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the minutes.
So moved.
Motion from Dempsey. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion from Argo, or a second from Argo. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the meeting minutes have passed. All right, we wanted to have a general discussion about next steps for the Loganville Development Authority. I'll just say something briefly about this, and then if, Paul, if you've got anything in particular you need us to address, please do that. So I think as Paul alluded to, it should be, we should keep in mind that the LDA is not being dissolved. And so, and we will continue to serve as members until our terms expire or we resign. So after tonight, we'll be waiting on response from the Georgia Cities Foundation on the loan. And then we'll also wait until the DCA sets up a bank account, and we'll write checks transferring the money at that point. So that might be a few weeks. So anything else you think we need to bring up?
Just the other thing, just there was some question about taking a minute. So there is an expectation that there will not be an additional LDA meeting called. So I'm taking minutes, and then we're also having this meeting recorded so that there is a recordation of the meeting and there is a documentation of the meeting that occurs, although we don't anticipate that there will ever be approval of those minutes. Not necessary. Y'all aren't taking any additional action tonight other than what you've done. We've got it recorded, so that'll be fine. I think you summarized it pretty well, Mr. Dana, that with this expectation of the DDA sort of taking things up and going, that in time, hopefully 30 to 60 days, there wouldn't need to be any further action from the LDA. Whether or not the LDA continues to exist is ultimately a decision of the mayor and council of the city of Loganville. But in essence or in effect, I don't see the LDA doing anything in the future. It will all be a decision upon your own part, but probably our recommendation will be to kind of keep things clean as we're moving forward with the DDA taking sort of the helm, if you will, that in the future, my office will prepare for you, send over to you for your consideration if you choose, and we'll just have very simple, resignations. I hereby resign from my position of the LDA effective this date. Won't do that tonight because there is the chance that we might need to do something else. We don't anticipate it, but when that time comes, that would be the conversation, so that everybody understands there's nothing being done that no one's trying to do. We're just moving sort of control and moving sort of effort from the LDA to the DDA. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any other questions?
Paul, how does that play into effect with bank accounts and things like that, please?
In what way? I mean, you've got the IGA in place that we're anticipating the DDA will approve. That will transfer the money over. Obviously, we want to wait, make sure checks get cleared and all that, but then essentially
Before closing those accounts?
Correct.
Okay,
And
very
then once all the checks get cleared and we know it's all good and basically the account's down to a zero balance, I think I saw it was with Synovus maybe.
Yes, sir.
We'll just make sure that we talk to the Synovus branch, and either treasurer or chairman can indicate to them, hey, we're closing this account effective this date. And I don't think we should have any trouble wrapping all that up. And
Very
then,
good.
and the sort of repository of documentation we talked about is we're going to work with city staff to make sure that city staff maintains sort of the information of the LDA appropriately and retains those records.
Very good, thank you.
Yes.
Okay. If there are no other questions before we adjourn, I'd like to thank all of you for your service on the Loganville Development Authority, particularly you, Tricia, because this is without issues, your last meeting for the LDA, and we appreciate your service and wish you well going forward.
Appreciate you.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate you.
So if no other questions or items to discuss, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Nope, you want to stay here, huh? All right. We have a motion to adjourn from Michael Lee. Adjournment motions require no second, so all in favor of adjournment say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all so much.